If you're wondering what the difference is between a jurat and an acknowledgement, or maybe you're not quite sure how to fully fill out a notarial certificate, then this video is for you. Hi, my name is Nicole, and on this channel, I share about my journey to become a loan signing agent and entrepreneur. In this video, I'll share with you all that you need to know about completing notarial certificates, and I'll also be sharing with you a digital download with a cheat sheet going over how to complete a jurat and an acknowledgement. So make sure that you watch until the end. Let's get started so that you can get out there and complete all the notarial certificates that you can. Now, before I get into the video, I did want to share about my online course that recently launched. It's called Loan Signing Essentials. If you found this video to be super helpful, then you're gonna love my course. In my course, I go through 5 different learning modules with 15 mini lessons inside all of the modules. Each mini lesson has a video that you'll watch and then pages to complete in a digital workbook that comes with the course. There's also a bonus module where I walk you through the top 5 loan documents and give you a sample set of loan documents to print with scripts that you can use as you go to your loan signing appointments. Be sure to check out the link below and see if this course is for you. All right, let's get into it. This video, I'll tell you everything that you need to know about jurats and acknowledgments. But first things first, what's the difference between a jurat and an acknowledgement? You might be wondering this, you might be confused. Let's go through the two of them. So first, a jurat. A jurat is used when the signer swears or affirms that the statements in the document are true. You'll know that it's a jurat because you'll see in the notarial wording that it says something similar to swearing or affirming. Now, when you complete this notarial certificate, you will need to administer an oath for your signers. So you will need to say something that the NNA recommends, which is on the screen. You could have them reply to this question. So do you solemnly affirm on your own personal honor that the statements in this document are true? There is another version too that says something like, do you swear that the statements in this document are true, so help you God. It's up to you, whichever one you want to choose. This is the one that I go with whenever I administer a jurat. All right, the other type of notarial certificate is an acknowledgement. So what this means is that it's used when a signer acknowledges that he or she signed the document. So they are the ones that are acknowledging that they signed the document. All right, so now that we know the difference between a jurat and an acknowledgement, we're going to look at the 4 parts that are required in any notarial certificate. The first part is the venue. Now, this is the state and the county that the notarial act is taking place in. Now, if you live in a place in the country that doesn't have counties, you would do something similar like a parish. But this venue might be blank, you might need to fill it in, it might be incorrect, so you'll need to correct that, and I'll tell you later in the video how you can correct it. But you want to make sure that the venue is always where you are currently at to perform the notarial act. The second part is the body of the notarial certificate. So this will depend on how your state requires notarial certificates to be. It will at least include the signer's name. Now, there might be other information, like in the state of Florida, we also include if it's online or a virtual notarization, or if it's in person. So we would need to either write in if it's missing or select the box to say by means of physical presence or by remote online notarization. So depending on your state, that body might look a little bit different. The third part is your signature. Now, this is what makes the document certified, is by adding in your signature and your notary stamp, which is the 4th part. So your stamp is the last part to a notarial certificate. The stamp itself depends on where you live in your state. So make sure that you are including the information needed for your notarial laws and regulations. All right, like I mentioned earlier, if you need to correct a notarial certificate, this is the process for how you would do that. Oftentimes, notarial certificates are drafted, especially in loan documents, based on where either the title office or the lender is located, and not necessarily where the borrower, where the signers live. So they're going off of what they personally use in their area. It might be different for where you're performing the notarial act. So then that's when you would be correcting it. Or there might be a change of venue, things like that. So the first step is you would cross it out. You would draw a single line through where the error is. The next thing is, since it's your notarial certificate, you need to write your initials next to the error to say that you were the one that corrected the error. Also next to your initials goes the date where you are completing the date on the notarization. And then the last thing is you would neatly print in that area the correction. So for example, if the venue is wrong, let's say they have the incorrect county listed, you would cross out with a single line the incorrect county, you would write your initials, the date, and then you would write in the correct county. So those are the simple steps for correcting a certificate. Now let's go through now the two different types of certificates I mentioned. So a jurat and an acknowledgement. Now you can tell that this is a jurat because at the top here it says sworn to or affirmed and subscribed before me. So since it has the words sworn and affirmed, we know that this is a jurat. So from going top to bottom, you can see at the top, it includes the venue. So I live in Florida and I'm in the county of Hillsborough, and I'm going to pretend like I'm performing this notarial act right in this county. So I would fill in Hillsborough. Now, since Florida requires us to either mark that it was done physically with the person, or it was an online notarization, you would need to select one of the two. Now, oftentimes these notarial certificates do not include this information. Since it's a newer regulation in the state, it only changed as of last year. So if this is missing from your certificate and you're in Florida, you would need to write this in. The same thing applies to other states. If there's something missing from your notarial certificate, you'll just need to write it in. Now, I personally am not a fan of adding in a loose certificate like a lot of people do. Now, there's no harm really in adding in a loose certificate, but it's not always necessary because you can just handwrite nicely the missing information. I have never had an issue with correcting certificates instead of adding in a loose certificate. I have heard from others that if you do add in a loose certificate to certain types of packages or notarizations that are going on, that could increase the page count that's unexpected by the recording county or whoever's processing the documents. So the fees would go up for the increase in page count. So you always want to keep that in mind too. If you should be adding in a loose certificate, my advice is just to write in the information that's missing. Okay, continuing on, you'll see the date is also filled in. So I'm pretending like that it's today, the 2nd of August, 2021. Now, wherever it says by in a notarial certificate, that means that following that is the person's name that is swearing, affirming, or we'll see in the acknowledgement certificate is acknowledging that document. So whoever it is, you'll write in their name. Then you're going to put your signature, you'll print your name, and then you'll include what type of identification you use to identify them, or if you personally knew them. And the very last part is you're going to put in your notarial stamp wherever there's a blank space near your notarial certificate. So again, this is the Jurat. Let's take a look now at what an acknowledgement certificate looks like. So very similar. You can see that this is an acknowledgement because at the top here, it's saying was acknowledged before me. But same concept, we have the venue at the top. So we have state of Florida, county of Hillsborough. And then we're checking physically present, adding in the date, the person who is acknowledging. So this is the signer. And then you're adding in the identification used to identify them, or if you personally knew them, you would write that in. You're signing and printing your name, and then putting in your notarial seal. So those are all the different components, specifically to Florida, but they're very similar from state to state. But as always, I recommend that you check with your state's notarial laws and guidelines and make sure that you're following those. All right, one last thing that I wanted to mention before I wrap up this video is prepping documents in advance. Now, I personally will go through my loan packages and look at the notarial certificates and see if I need to make any corrections. So say I need to change where the venue's at, or I notice that the wording isn't correct for the state of Florida, I'll go ahead and make those corrections ahead of time if I have time, hopefully. And the other information that I'll add in is I'll print my name, I'll add in the date, and then I'll check if I personally know them or if I identified them with an identification. Now, when I'm with the signer, that's where I'll be signing in front of them and stamping in front of them. So that's how I prep my documents in advance. But the rule of thumb for this is when in doubt, make sure that you follow your state's guidelines. So that is all for this video. If you found it helpful, make sure that you give it a like and subscribe to my channel so that you're up to date on everything that I post. Know too that every video that I have comes with a freebie. And speaking of freebies, make sure that you click in the description box below to get a free cheat sheet where I show you those exact two screenshots of a sample Jurat and a sample acknowledgement, so you can stick that in your binder and carry it with you to all of your loan signings. Now, make sure that you follow me too on Instagram, where I share my day-to-day of what it's really like to be a loan signing agent. And if we haven't chatted before, make sure that you write your name, say something below in the comments so that you can introduce yourself. I love connecting with other loan signing agents and notaries. So that is all for today. I will see you in the next video.